Hey, what's up everybody? Joshua Casper back at you with Plugin Boutique, and today we're checking out the brand new plugin from WA Production called Puncher. Puncher is a multi-effect with transient shaper, multiband compressor, and then a final parallel style RMS compressor on the final stage to smooth things out. So in this overview video, I'm just going to run you through what's available inside of here and show you it on a few different instrument types. I'm going to show you it on my drum bus. I'm going to show you it on a synth over here, some synth chords, and then the sub bass at the end. Before we jump into those examples, let's just check it out on these drums and talk about each one of these modules. So first of all, the Puncher logo is a bypass button. So you can see right there, it sounds better. It is a little bit louder, and I know some people are aware of the fact that louder things sound better, but I mean, you can still hear that there's more detail. You can still hear that things are punchier, and that has to do with the transient shaper, of course, but let's not get too bogged down on the fact that it's a little bit louder. So we've got 3 different modules, like I said. We can turn any of them off or on by using the power buttons. These are essentially dry wet knobs right here for each one of the modules, and then each one of them has the kind of advanced tab by clicking these arrows down here. So let's just go through one at a time. This is the transients right here. Inside we've got a dry wet mix knob. We've got the low pass filter and the high pass filter. So this is going to bypass the frequencies outside of this range to not trigger the circuit. So if we really want to hone in on maybe the lower end, I can just pull this down to, you know, something like 400. And now the transient shaper will only be triggered by, say, the kick drum or maybe some of the snares. So you can hear the difference there. These two, attack and gain, are for the transient peaks. So the attack is going to be how sustained the peaks become. And you can go up quite high. And the gain is how much gain you're going to add to those peaks. The release is going to have to do with the sustained parts of the signal. And the gain is obviously how much of the sustained signal is there. So the second parameter is down here, sustain. The second parameter is up here, transients. Let's move on to the next one. We've got a multiband compressor, and this is actually a 4-band multiband compressor. Usually you get about 3. This one's giving you 4. So inside of here, you've got your frequency crossover points. You've got your threshold, ratio, attack release, and gain for each one of the bands. So as I flip through, obviously the frequency positions stay where they are, but each one of these bands has its own set of parameters for each one of the kind of typical parameters you find inside of a compressor. So once you do some crazy multiband tweaking, you come over to the parallel, which is an RMS compressor right here with a slider between 0 milliseconds and 1000. And we've got threshold ratio, we've got a knee control for this one, attack, release, and gain. This is really helpful for smoothing out these two. So once these two are combined, it can get kind of, you know, a little bit too in your face. This is just useful for smoothing it out and controlling those dynamics while still getting the proper effect for the final output. We do have a final output gain right here. We've got some metering right here, and we also see the waveform inside of this window right here. We do have a number of presets. If we click right here, we go into a folder system where there's drums, instruments, synths, bass, lead, synths, other. You can see some chords in there, and then for vocals. So let's go ahead and jump into this chord set that I have over here with Puncher on it. So there you go. There's a little bit of relative gain matching for you, so you can hear the difference. There's definitely a big difference, not just in addition and output gain. The transients are definitely more in your face, and I really like it. So we can see we've kind of turned down the sustained parts and really added some gain to the transient parts. And that's what you're very useful because these chords are meant to go with these chords, and I really wanted them to stand out and just add to the chord changes rather than the melody from the chords in the top. I obviously need to turn that back up. So it's really there to be only using the transient part of that shape, and being able to shape those transients using Puncher is, what it's all about, right? Next up, we got the hip hop bass, and I'm just using the default actually for this one. And if I come down here and solo it, let me turn off the sidechain compression for a second just so we don't hear those clicking. So the compression there is really working to drive the signal. Let's come in and check out some of the presets here. And by the way, you should have some headphones or some nice speakers on for this sub bass. So we got deep bass, DMB, electro, future, hip hop. So let's just run through these and see what happens. Okay, so I really like the way that one sounds. Let's go ahead and put that sidechain on it and play it with the track. Do you see how much more presence it has and it feels more controlled in the mix? I turned down the transients. I'm not really looking for transients for this particular bass line. I'm looking more for the sustained parts. That's why I pulled down the gain for the transient section and kind of boosted the gain for the sustained. And if you look inside of the multiband compressor, we've got a 6 dB boost on the lower band, which starts below 124, 3 dB, which starts or is between 124 and 1,000, and then 0 dB for 1,000 to 4,000, and then -3 for 4,000 and above. And I mean, that's pretty standard, right? Because it's a bass line, especially this is a sub bass line. We don't need to be boosting upper frequencies there. And we're not really using the parallel module here, but we always could if we want to turn it on. And that's it. That's what Puncher's all about. Those 3 modules wrapped into a multi-effect. And it's really versatile for really any sound that you might have in your project. Go check it out right now. It's on pluginboutique.com. I'm Joshua Casper, and I'll see you in the next video.